All right, so here's what we're gonna talk about today on this call, just so you can kind of know like what's coming. Should I sit around and listen and that kind of thing. So, at the end of the call, the last bit of it, we are going to talk about some things that we've been working really hard on for next year. Some of the things we're getting ready to release, some of the things we're going to release later in the year, but things that I think are going to make a material difference in everybody's day to day and how they interact with their leads. Also, we will want to hear from you and get some feedback kind of as we broach that topic. But we are going to talk about just we want everybody to hear like Jamie and I aren't marketers first. We kind of always say that, we're insurance agents. We don't put out things with Lead Champ that we haven't tried or tested. We also don't put out things that were like, hey, this would be a cool thing to sell and like, here you go. Because that doesn't do us any good. It doesn't improve our business. And therefore it doesn't improve yours just to have like a cool, widget or gadget or whatever else. Like we want things that make a material difference to improve your process, your system, your way of doing things. Also, um, so you understand kind of some of the decisions that we've made, why we do some of the things that we've, the way we do them, some of the things that we've dealt with this year. So you can kind of know and expect, hey, if I'm going to be on this platform, like what's it all about? How they make decisions? What can I do? What can I do? I just want you to understand that. And then again, we're going to go some things that we're getting ready to release in 2026. So with that said, Jamie, anything that I missed there? And if not, if you could just go ahead and kick us off with kind of from the beginning.
From the beginning. I feel like I'm starting at the beginning of Star Wars. Anyways, in
Yeah.
a galaxy far, far away. All right. Well, first of all, I just want to thank everyone for being here. Anybody, especially who's been rocking with us. Some of the early adopters. Back when Lead Champ was not even a thing that was kind of offered to the public. It was a thing that we had kind of exclusively built for ourselves. And then through the grapevine, a few people had heard about it, and you came along for the ride with us, so obviously just want to give a little bit of perspective of kind of where we've come from. But again, just want to thank, anybody who showed up here, thank specifically some of the early adopters and supporters of Lead Champ Pro. I think one of the biggest things, if we look back at the last year, is that Lead Champ kind of grew way beyond our expectations. Like we did not expect it to turn into what it turned into. We didn't set out with this plan to build this big support company for so many agents. We didn't expect it to do all the things that it's doing in terms of improving other people's business, just transparently. It was a selfish pursuit for ourselves to improve our persistency and kind of make our lives easier. So, kind of the beginning of this call, we're not just jumping right into a feature dump of like, here's what's coming here in 2026. Like, we will get to that. So please stick around for some of the things that we're working on. But really, everybody who's here, like we're just getting started. Like you guys really are some of the founding customers, and you're about to come along on a pretty cool ride with us, as we kind of build some of this stuff. And I really think it is going to improve everybody's business as it already has so much. So, when we look back and when we first started developing this, like Josh and I were in a position where we were transitioning out of the home selling insurance right into telesales. Me specifically, I was dealing with, you guys have heard this story, many of you have, maybe some new users haven't, going from 95% persistency in the home to 65% persistency over the phone, and all the things that I used to do in the home that I couldn't do over the phone, like carry my 50-pound side bag with all the things, the brochures, and take a selfie with them, and all the things that I would do with the clients, and I'd have, staff that did XYZ. And one of the main reasons that we started to develop this, and on Josh's side, he was starting to work, multiple lead types. He was starting to have a high volume of high intent leads, and it just wasn't possible for him to keep up with like the real timeness of booking these appointments on like a speed to lead type of a scenario, with the volume that he had going. And then also, he's got two little girls, I got three little boys, trying to also have balance and family and all the things, but it wasn't possible. So that's where, we kind of went in this direction of AI and automation and all these things to kind of help us, make our lives easier. And Had a little bit of, controlled usage in 2024 while we built the infrastructure. We probably brought on about, 15 to 20 people. Some of them are here on this call, and you know who you are. And then back last January, we officially launched Lead Champ Pro to the public. We got asked to be on, a big industry podcast with Grady Polson, and we had hosted an event at our IMO's national convention, and we had some serious momentum coming out of that. Like we were seeing probably 3 to 5 people signing up for Lead Champ a day, which, do the math on that over 30 days, huge influx going from, 15 users for the course of like a year to, 5 users a day. So things got pretty crazy for us as we started to develop this. And I'll kind of pass it to Josh here at this point because we hit some serious momentum, got a lot of excitement, but that did not come without some struggles and some growing pains.
Yeah, I mean, basically, this year, I mean, like you said, we were signing up, tons of people were jumping on where before 2025, we had our tech team that were kind of part-time that would do some onboarding, and back in those days, you had to like email a giant list of logins and licenses and all kinds of things. And so we had this like part-time guy helping us, and then we had all this momentum and signing up, and all these things were happening. I don't remember the exactly, but we went from like a part-time guy to like a staff of like 12 to 15 in a matter of like 60 days or something like that, Jamie. And so now we're trying to figure out all the things that come along with business, right? And mind you, we're trying to keep up, selling, 30K a month, agency, family, and that's when I developed most of my gray hair. So all this good stuff is happening. That's when Nick joined us, and people were jumping on his calendar every day, and he's like, wow, you guys are keeping me super busy. And some of the comments he said about all of our Discord notifications and support notifications was pretty funny and a little bit overwhelming. He said one night he went to bed and he had all of his Discord notifications turned on, all his devices, and his wife was like, "What is that noise?" And his computer, his laptop, and his phone were all dinging simultaneously. It was like Christmas music or something in his house. So all that was happening, and somewhere around the February March area, for anybody that was around or got started then, there was a little meltdown in the industry called A2P, and literally overnight, no one could get A2P approved, and this was at that kind of the one of the heights of people signing up with us, and we found ourselves in a position where somewhere between 60 and 80 people could not get A2P approved in text message. Now we've charged them month one, and they, we're trying, we had been getting people approved, no problem, but all of a sudden, these massive changes from upon high happened, and no one in the industry is getting approved anywhere. We're talking to other platforms, we're talking, people not in the industry, and no one's getting approved. That's like an independent contractor. And so we went something like 60 days where we were not charging those people at all while we were trying to figure that out. And one of the things that we ended up doing was rebuilding half of our system. Our team, myself included, many, many nights we were up all night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I remember one night Nick and I were up until like 3 o'clock in the morning, manually copying, pasting everyone's insurance license over to a new website that we built. And so, just so that we could try to upkeep with the latest A2P laws that they don't tell you about, right? And ultimately, after about 60 days, not charging anybody, people, being very gracious and patient because, we were pretty transparent about it, but also frustrated because they wanted to use the system. We started looking for alternatives. That's when, what's called blue bubble companies were really becoming a thing, Lynx and Blue. And we reached out to a lot of these. We started interviewing them, and one of the companies that we didn't go with, I won't name names, but you kind of figured out, We were about to sign a deal with them, and it was going to cost us, how much was it, Jamie? Like 75,000 up front.
Yeah, 75,000 up front and then, amount per blue line per month as well.
Yeah. And we're like, well, and we're like, oh man, do we do it? If we don't do it, all these people can't do anything. It was insane, right? And so in the 12th hour, we end up doing a deal with Send Blue, and we had to send them a bunch of money, and we actually what they built out a special like custom thing for us, which is now Send Green, where everybody could start sending SMS messages, and we had to rebuild the whole platform again on the back end because those there's all kinds of additional compliances at anybody that has SendBlue knows that you have to adhere to be able to send those messages, upkeep those messages, not get them filtered, not get numbers burned, all this kind of stuff. So we rebuilt the whole platform, 400 workflows twice in about 60 days. And then we gave everybody that for free for 30 days. So now we're burning through more money and all that just so people could send messages and actually use the platform. So we got through that, and people are starting to send messages again. Transparently, some of the people are like, "Well, Send Blue's a flat rate. A2P you pay per message. I don't want to do that." And so, we definitely had some people that you're like, they dipped out because they don't want to do that, and we knew that was going to happen. But like that was our only option because people you couldn't get A2P approved. And so with that, there was tons of glitches and tweaks and things that we were learning about sending those messages and how it integrated with the rest of the platform. So that was like a continuous thing where we were constantly working, and a lot of people had questions about and learning how to use that and having like a dual number system and all these kinds of things. And we had all kinds of onboarding issues that we were working through. And as we were kind of figuring that out, anybody that remembers back in February, March ish, there was a major ad change in all life insurance went into what's called a special ad category. Without getting too deep into that, um, basically all of the normal targeting and the way you would run ads changed overnight, and basically every lead vendor went to a tailspin for about 2 months, some even longer. Jamie, I don't know. From your perspective, what was that time like?
Well, I will say that over the last 5 years, one of the things that I can say is that, I've had a couple really solid lead vendors, and they've typically served me well for like a year up to 2 years where I haven't had to make any changes. So like amongst all the changes that were happening, like with lead champ and stuff, the one thing that I could rely on was my leads. And it was like, all right, I've got this campaign going. It's great. I've got good CPL. I know that anytime that I spend $1, I make seven. And if I can keep this going, all good. I got my schedule and you know, it is time blocked out how I need it to, and I know exactly how much I need to spend, and it's going to book me this many appointments, and it's going to turn into this much premium. And then out of nowhere, even our own personal campaigns, went from, $20 CPLs to I had days where I had $200 CPLs, and I had days where I'm getting, 4 or 5 leads a day to days where I was getting no leads. And so now I'm in a tailspin of, I've got no leads. What do we do here? Do I work what I have? Do I go and just start piecing it together again? But then, lo and behold, nobody really feels like they have it together. Um,
Oh,
so
we had
that will,
people we had people showing up, getting on Nick's calendar and going, "Do you got any leads? You got any leads? Please sell me some leads. Anything. I don't care what it is. I just it was pretty insane."
Yeah, like I don't even care if it's a 75 or $80 CPL for a lead. I just need something. So simultaneously, it's like the one thing that was solid for us, which was leads, which allows us to sell at a high level, maintain our business, train agents and teach them how to sell all the things. That went, into a weird tailspin. Well, simultaneously, um, we're dealing with all the A2P stuff. Josh and I got kids, we're staying up all night, so, that was, those were the dark days, is what I'll call them.
Yeah. So, needless to say, time went on. We continue to, improve things. I think it's not too bold of me to say like one thing that we've done pretty well is our support team is pretty amazing. Anything that you message in about, you may not always love the answer. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I think it's fair to say that our team always does get back to people very, very quickly. It kind of sometimes works against us. Sometimes folks will submit a support ticket 9 o'clock at night, and then at 8 o'clock in the morning, they're like, "Hey, is it fixed yet?" Because we're so fast, they just assume that it's done. But we do try to sleep, you know. But this whole time, when we first kind of started doing this, if anybody's ever been on other GHL platforms, and this is not speaking ill of other platforms at all. It's just we know that we're doing something that's a bit different. And, some people might like it, and we're not for everybody, and that is a-okay by us, right? We're insurance first and then lead champ. And if we keep in that order, that allows us to do well by our families. It allows us to do well by you because we're in the trenches actually doing it and we know what we need. Therefore, if you're anything like us, which is like, a full-time insurance producer trying to do it at top level, you're dealing with the same things, right? And so, with that said, early on, on other platforms, when you come on, maybe they have some like generic or somewhat specific insurance things, and then you go in and you can kind of build whatever you want, right? Today you're building a funnel, tomorrow you're like a copywriting expert, and I wanted to say this and I wanted to do that, and we chose not to do that. We said, look, we're going to build something that's already done, that people can use it if they want to, but it's not going to be a free for all, build whatever you want, choose your adventure. There's other platforms that's kind of that style. You can go do that. But so with that said, there's a lot of times that we have to say no. And the reason is this. In the beginning, people came and said, I just want to build this one thing. And we made some exceptions. And every time we made an exception, that added complexity to the system. Anytime in the tech space, I don't care what company it is, and you roll out a new piece of tech, anything, and this is like rang true 100% of the time, there's always an element that you're not counting on that's going to go wrong every time. And so every time we say yes to something, we're inadvertently saying yes to something that we don't know about. And then if it goes wrong, someone's upset it with us. Why is it not working 100% of the time? And that, so we quickly were like, okay, a couple rules to help us stay sane and deliver a good product. Number one, if we can't use it and it's not useful for Jamie and I, and we test it out, we're not going to give it to everybody else, and we're not going to have you test your money and be test dummies for our thing. Number two, if we can't give it to anybody, then we're not going to give it, or if we can't give it to everybody, we're not going to give it to anybody. All right. And so sometimes people are like, oh, this would be a super cool idea. And it is a super cool idea, but you have to factor, all the different ways that everyone's going to utilize it, all the different ways it scales, how people can mess it up. Because again, right, if you're here, you're not like a platform expert, know all the intricacies. So you might interpret something a different way and you might click this button instead of that button. So, how does it work with everybody in all the different scenarios? And so that's why we make some of the choices. So when you message in and go, hey, can you do this? And the answer is like, hey, sorry, no. It's not because we just don't want to help you. It's because of the way we're building and delivering the product. Sometimes we have to say no so that it works better for you. And then of course there's general
Mm.
compliance as well.
Just a
Um,
quick thing, Josh, to add in. I mean, just the way that we built this system is a system that can continue to be updated. Josh alluded to this, but like a lot of GHL platforms out there, they give you what's called a snapshot. And it's like, here's a snapshot, here's a bunch of preloaded stuff. That's like a base for your account, and you can build on top of it whatever you want. When new updates roll out, this is just the way that the Go High Level platform works. If you want updates, they basically have to reset all of your customizations back to factory settings every single time that happens. So what they typically do is they typically just say only new users get the updates. If you came in a year ago, if you came in 6 months ago, last month, if we do an update, sorry, you don't get the update. Only new users get the update. And that is like industry standard for so many people in the insurance space that their accounts have not been updated for a year or 2 years. We've built this where every single time that we make an update, every single one of our accounts get those updates. And we've built everything in a way, Josh used the word earlier to future proof it so that if we do have new things, we can roll it out and it doesn't mess up any of like your customized stuff. So like we built it in a way like when you come in and you build out your VMU website, we use something called custom values. Those don't get reset every time that we push an update. It's these little, brackets that are like username or user NPN or user state license. And when we first started, every time that we updated the Verify My Underwriter site, your 50 state licenses reset back to blank, and then we had to go re-upload them again. But we figured out ways where now I can go reset all of that and completely redesign the entire site tomorrow, and your site would still be fully built. So we've got that mixed in with the messages, the workflows, so much. But just to reiterate and throw back to Josh, we built this in a way that every time that we make an update, every time we have a new feature, every user will get it, not just the new users.
Yeah, so with that said, I mean, that's caused us to have to tear down things and rebuild things. So sometimes when, a sentence or a little feature was like, oh, this was working, but this is misspelled or that thing happened, it's because we're updating hundreds of accounts and we want you to have the updates, but just nothing's ever perfect the first time around. But what's nice about it is the way we've done it is if there is an issue, when we fix it one time, it should be fixed for the rest of time, which is nice. So one of those examples is if anybody was in early 2025 or 2024, we had this really cool chat bot that we built, not AI, but it was a chat bot. So somebody clicked on a postcard, they scanned a QR code, they hit your ERN link, or there's a bunch of different places in the system. They could like answer a series of questions and it would like kind of talk back and forth, and then they could input information. It would come into your system. It was super cool. It took me so long to do. I remember one time I spent 3 hours on a Saturday reading through a line of code, retrying different sequences for 3 hours straight, just to find out a comma was in the wrong spot. And we got this thing to work, and it was super cool. And when you work on something that long, you kind of feel like it's like your kid or something. And then we realized as we started to scale up that it was incredibly difficult to upkeep, because it used 17 webhooks per account. If anybody knows what that is, but it's these specific coded to you links that's really hard to keep up over hundreds of accounts. And so eventually we said, well, we can't continue to keep the integrity of it. And when it breaks, somebody's leads go to the wrong account. We can't have that. Like that breaks trust. So we had to tear the whole thing down. And then Jamie and I rebuilt automation sequences, funnels, and pages that are the red buttons at the top of your screen today. And they work seamlessly, which is great. So things like that, constantly we're trying to make it better. And sometimes that's like, yeah, we had a cool thing, but we have to just totally ditch it. So with that said, that's kind of just brings us up, Black Friday, it was crazy. I mean, we had just a load of people sign up for it, which was cool because that let us know, hey, we are on the right track. People do, want to use this. We're moving in a good direction, which was a great feeling. But also, anytime you have a ton of, like if you go out and sell 20 policies this week, guess what? You have a bunch of customer service to do. And so we found that although our onboarding had been improving, we really need to take it to the next level. So we rebuilt a ton of our onboarding, right? Got rid of our old boot camp that was pretty long and outdated, needed to be done. We shortened it. We had our onboarding tool where you can just punch your stuff in. Redid, I think one Friday night, I recorded like, I don't know, 30 videos or something like that for it. And as a result of that, we're seeing people get through it faster, in a more automated way, and they're texting faster, which ultimately is the goal. Okay, so that kind of it gets us to right now and then moving forward. So I don't know. Before we jump off into all that, Jamie, anything that you would add or I missed?
Um, no, I mean, just again, I mean, the influx of users always tests the integrity of the system and the support, and it requires us to, restart and rebuild over and over again. And it's probably not going to be the last time. And we are trying to build everything to give everybody the best user experience possible. And sometimes it doesn't feel like that, but we're losing sleep over it because we care a lot, and we want everybody to have the best experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, over the next few minutes, we're gonna talk about kind of what we're working on right now, what you can expect, what to see. Also, as we're talking about this, if you have anything where you're like, I'd like to see this feature, what about this idea? Or I have this like one text message that is like guaranteed that everyone responds, just throw it in the chat and we might address it or use it to kind of take back to our workshop. So, a few things. So next week, next Wednesday, I hope I'm not talking out of turn, Jamie. I think what it would be the first call of the year. We're gonna do a deep dive on uh, phone calls and text messages getting delivered and what you can do to make sure you're getting more responses because this is something that, we knew that was coming a year ago, but we didn't realize that basically CRMs and insurance is our part-time job, and figuring out how phone calls, emails, and texts actually get to people is our main job, right? Because laws are changing all the time, filtering from the carriers are changing all the time, and it's constantly getting trickier and harder. That doesn't mean that text messages and emails and phone calls don't work. It does mean though that if you aren't paying attention to it and you're just spraying and praying, your margins are going to feel pinched. Is that fair to say, Jamie?
Yeah, no, it's totally fair to say. And I think the other thing is that um, everything works really, really well until it doesn't. And the thing about deliverability and spam is it's not just about your phone calls, it's also about your text messages. And there are so many factors that play into it where you're like, maybe you experienced, I started using Lead Champ and it just was booking so many appointments. My response rate was so high. Everyone was answering. Like the first week you started using the Connect dialer or whatever, these carriers are getting so good at identifying what's considered spam like behavior. And just insurance in general, like with the activity that we do and the cadence in which we do it, we are heavily scrutinized. Triple,
Probably the most.
probably the most. So like not only are we in, one of the highest turnover industries on the planet, we also happen to be the most heavily scrutinized by all the carriers. So, we've got just the perfect recipe, Josh and I, of keeping people on the platform in the highest turnover industry on the planet and helping them make money and not quit the industry while simultaneously helping them get delivered in one of the most highly scrutinized industries possible. So we picked a fun battle to try to conquer, which is awesome. But just at the end of the day, there's so much that's constantly changing. So we're trying to stay on the edge of everything, on the ball, talking to as many people as we possibly can to figure out what's working, what's not working, and a lot of the things that Josh is about to share is going to kind of tell you the direction that we're going.
Yep. So again, next week, we're going to do a deep dive on that. It really breaks down. I will say this, it breaks down into three things. There's message copy and sequence, which, we primarily handle that. There's phone number health, which there's a bunch of things to do on that. And there is kind of how new is so like new people on the platform are going to have a little harder time than say like Jamie and I who've been on the platform and been texting for a couple years, right? So there's all these different things to consider. We'll talk more about that. But one of the main things that we've been spending a lot of time on that you're going to see here pretty soon is we're completely revamping and rewriting, starting with all of the copy and the sequencing of every message that goes out to try to book an appointment. Right, Derek? I see you posted something in the client campaign. Yes, that particular message and sequence has been on my mind, and we are going to tackle that as well. But that's going to come after, so I'll mention that here in a minute. Um, but yeah, so anyway, all the sequencing, all the messaging, and we've come up with uh, a really cool way to do it. So a couple things I'll say on it. So many platforms that we've seen, not all, many, they send one or two messages and they're pretty generic, and then that's it, right? Or they have like one or two or three generic messages, and it's like, hey, I'm getting back to you about the insert life insurance or insert mortgage protection, and like that's it. And we just feel like we can do a lot better and have variety and thoughtfulness. And it's like this cross section of like what converts and what's compliant. And there's some cross section of where's both, but you can't have like the most converting things that are like, oh yeah, this will definitely get people to respond, not, aren't necessarily going to be compliant. And if it gets filtered out or blocked, or now you can't send messages, that's no good to you either. So sometimes when we ask agents, hey, what do you think is a really good message? They'll come up with something. It's like, yeah, that is cool. Um, Borderline truthful, and it's pretty spammy, so like we maybe shouldn't use it. So um what you're going to see here pretty soon is all the messages and sequences are going to be showing up a lot different. But what that's going to do for you is going to give you a lot of variety based on your lead types. And then in addition to that, there's going to be we have a big push for a ton of data. And I know like data sounds boring, but just imagine if you had numbers at your fingertips that you could say, for my specific leads, maybe I do final expense, maybe I do, some kind of niche life insurance, maybe I do IUL. For my specific leads and lead vendor, which message sequence replies the best, and then I can choose, right? Is Send Blue or A2P the best? If I'm doing age leads, which are these ones work the best? Does this message work the best? So we're going to be able to provide that all to you so you can make better decisions about your own marketing. And then that's going to give us data on, which leads and sequences and things that are doing the best so we can faster and more readily like put out like the best copy, the best memes, the best gifs. So we're doing a complete overhaul on that. So we're kind of really excited about that. Um
Josh, can you explain like the different tones of messages in the rotator?
yeah, exactly. So what it's going to be, there's going to be a number of varieties, but different um different people, like if you're selling to somebody or you're recruiting somebody into your business, right? Not everybody talks the same lingo, not everybody communicates the same way. Some people you're just like facts and figures, some people are more like just emotions and I just want to take care of my family, right? So to talk to every single lead the same way may not be the thing, right? And so what we've created is a variance of intent type, right? So you can put a batch of leads in however they come in, and until you have enough data and like, okay, this one is the best, it's actually going to rotate intent type. So one lead might get a message that's more like just direct, straight to the point. Another lead might get a message that's more like touchy feely emotions, take care of my family. One might be a little bit more focused on, you know, product and that kind of thing. And so we have a really cool system to be able to rotate that each lead, so you can kind of see what is performing the best, and then you can do that across all of your leads. And
So
then
basically, Josh, you can kind of randomize the messages that are being sent so it's not the same thing every time, but then ultimately kind of choose your own adventure once you see what's performing the best.
Exactly. And so what we want to do, going back to our earlier thing, instead of saying, "Hey, we're going to build custom things for everybody," and then that we can't update your account and you're locked into a thing, and that creates complexity, is building in a way where we're able to still maintain, hey, we're going to give this to everybody, we're going to update it all the time, but still give you choice based on numbers and not just what you think is working, right?
Mhm.
Um, In
And
addition to,
what does that rotation, Josh, do to like the deliverability?
yeah, so oh my gosh, I've spent more time than I care to researching, testing, pulling data and messages together that are getting filtered to see, there's a lot that goes into it. So there's specific words that the carriers just hate. For example, I was in another group, and on their platform, they sell health insurance, and certain health insurance carrier, like big health insurance carriers, the names of them were getting filtered out, right? So you can't say health insurance carrier names, certain ones of them. If you use it too many times in a sequence, right? If you have certain multimedia in a sequence too soon, right? If you have too many messages in a too short of a pattern, if you use certain like all these things all come into play. And then on top of that, a lot of times people are like, "Hey, can you just make the words better?" The things that even before the words is going to make the biggest difference is your marketing, i.e., leads, right? Which we'll get into in a minute, right? If you have, should you have the highest intent lead or the most volume lead? Somewhere in between is the answer. But, we've seen people put in, leads that just no matter what are not responding because, there's a lot of bad numbers and, mismatching data and they're really, really old and they've been worked a bunch and who knows, right? It doesn't matter what the words are. If the reply rate is low, you're going to have more blocks. So again, there's a lot going into it. So we've optimized these, yes, to try to convert, but more importantly, to future proof it. So as regulations increase, we're going to be a-okay. With that said, um, when it comes to phone carriers, there's like the big AT&T, Verizon, et cetera. But there's like these mediaries like Twilio, who's the main sender. We're actually looking and testing other to completely switch over to other carriers that have less filtering policies and even cheaper pricing to deliver better pricing on text messages. So that's kind of another thing that we're that hoping to be able to deliver soon. In addition to that, we want to talk about lead vendors for a second. Um, so people come to us all the time. Our name is Lead Champ Pro, and um, Derek, does that get rid of Send Blue? No, Send Blue is actually going to become more valuable. So we're making all those updates on Send Blue as well. We'll have some more things about that, but no, Send Blue becomes even more valuable as a P2P provider. So they're getting kind of all the updates along with everything else. But people come to us all the time. They're like, "Hey, do you guys sell leads?" And we did for a little bit. We don't directly sell leads. Although our name's Lead Champ Pro, people get very upset about that. So I guess the best way we can say it is you give us leads and we'll Champ Pro them, whatever that means. But what we have come across is come across a couple of lead vendors that we've noticed that a lot of people or many people on the platform use that we have. Now you can put any lead you want into lead champ. We're lead agnostic, okay? But we have a number of lead vendors that we've recognized that people have used that have good data, meaning we can go in and see a high level of these leads respond, they book, they sell. What's the ratio that they're selling? So it's not just like, hey, we think these are good. We can go in and see a number of accounts that they're performing really, really well on. So, um, pretty soon, and even now, we're not like officially announcing, but we have a new partnership with a IUL only lead provider. We're pretty excited about, and we have some others that might be coming later in the year. So when you're like, hey, which leads perform well, we can go, hey, these ones by the numbers, check them out. And so we just want to have more of that accessible, so you're not playing lead roulette, and one day it's hot, one day it's not. All right.
Yeah, and we'll basically end up providing that in a similar way you guys see the launch pad with a lead marketplace, which it's not, nothing special other than these are vendors that we're recognizing have good data and will point you in their direction.
Yep. We have a bunch of updates coming to AI, which, AI, just so you know, is currently booking. So just this past month, especially since Black Friday, we went from sending 130,000 messages a month to over 200,000 messages a month and growing. So a lot, a lot of messages being sent. About 4,000 appointments per month are getting booked on the platform, and about 1,000 of those every month are hands-free by AI. So AI is crushing it. But we have a lot of updates that are coming that you might not necessarily like overtly see, but you'll notice. One of the things that we're working on later this year is AI currently does not talk to clients, right? Because there's a lot of different ways that can go. So AI does not talk to clients, but one thing, especially for anybody that's done a book of business transfer into LeadChamp, Jamie, do you want to tell them what that experience is like when it comes annual review time currently?
Um, yeah, so I transferred in 750 clients 2 years ago around Thanksgiving, and I didn't realize that because I transferred them all in on the same day that they would all get the "Hey, it's time for your annual review" text. Well, they did last year, but guess what? We didn't have last year. AI. So I got a bunch of responses last year, but this year I had over 100 appointments booked on my calendar in a week for annual reviews, which was insane. I mean, a lot of you guys have seen my schedule when I've done like the calendar calls, how packed out it is. Every single half hour in my white space was double booked for 5 days straight. Every single half hour. I did not have a minute to pee. I couldn't even schedule in peeing. I almost had to pee in a bottle and put it in a trash can, but I survived.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was like I can't remember what day it was. It was like you had like a family day scheduled, and then
It
your
was
phone was,
Sunday. No, it was Sunday, and I'm wearing my Apple Watch. And
yeah, and your
like I
phone just
thought something was
bzz,
breaking
bzz.
because literally it was buzzing so fast and it would not stop.
Yeah.
It would not stop. And then AI, thankfully, saved the day on that because I was like, I can't. I had to take off my watch and I let it go.
Yeah, so yeah, soon we'll have AI auto booking for annual reviews specifically. So when come time that'll just auto get booked. So that'll be another thing. And so let's see. Again, a lot of things coming. We just want to make you aware on what's going on, what to expect, what to look out for. Main thing is, just for anybody that's using it, as long as you're hitting the what happened button, you're kind of going to know what's going on. And in the Discord, we're going to have everything announcements. We'll get it out to everybody. We have some other back end overhauls that we're preparing for that will allow us to kind of simplify the whole platform. When we do have updates, get them out to you faster so you actually see them and know what's going on versus like you hit a button, you're like, oh, okay, I guess this is different now. Um, so really just streamline the whole thing. So with that said, anything that I missed, Jamie?
Yeah, one thing I'll add, should hopefully here in the next couple weeks, anybody who's ever been like, my button's not showing up or like the theme disappeared and I can't see, like that should hopefully all be solved like in its entirety here in the next couple of weeks. You'll probably even see like a little bit of a facelift from like a user experience perspective. Like it'll look a little different, cleaner, probably the same colors. We'll see. Maybe we'll do a different theme, but for the most part, you're going to see some changes to how everything looks. But what's going to happen with the change in how it looks is that all of those buttons are going to be there and work 100% of the time. Number one. Number two, with that, the platform that we're using to do all of that is going to allow us to do some really cool things. Number one is, Josh talked a lot about data, but provide you guys more data. So, for instance, your dashboard that you guys currently have that shows your statistics only shows for the month. When we make this change, you guys will be able to use that and like change it over to weekly data, daily data, change up those user sets, which is going to be great. Number one. So lots more dashboard availability for data to look at stuff. And then we'll have some pretty cool announcement tools. So like when you log in, you'll see like a pop-up or a banner across the top for some things like most important things to be looking out for. And there's a few dozen different things that'll be coming, some new knowledge base type stuff, um, new onboarding for agents, but there's a bunch of stuff that I can't even get down the rabbit hole or into the weeds on right now, but
Eas-
plenty of fun widgets and buttons and things coming in
Easier, easier,
2026.
easier ways to connect your third party leads. Yeah.
Yes, easier ways to connect your third party leads. Some specific buttons that'll be located in some of like the more problematic parts of the system where like you like forget how to do something and you'll be able to like quickly reference like a video on like how to upload your leads like right in the contact section instead of having to dig back into boot camp. Like kind of like some little help bubbles that will remind you of some things. So yeah, lots of fun stuff coming.
Yep. So with that said, if anybody has any other things they'd like to throw in the chat for us to look at, we're happy to do that. But we just wanted to say, 2025 here. Appreciate everybody. Thank you for kind of just being on the platform with us. We're going to continue to grow it, come out with new things, make it better, make it easier on you, so you can do what you need to do, which is, sell insurance, take care of families. How about the ILC leads auto integration? Yeah, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Not because we don't want it to or can't make it happen, but I just don't think they're willing to share that information and data the way that we would need it done to be able to do that, unfortunately, Josh. So yeah, good question. That's come up a bunch. Um, anyway, next week, like I said, on that call, if you want to know, hey, how can I ensure or make better my phone calls don't go to spam, what strategies for local presence, how do I keep track of it, what practices should I do when I uploading leads or getting leads into the system, what things can I know about to make sure all those things, more of them get to their desired endpoint, which is to the customer. That's what we're going to talk about next week. So we'll give you some good tools and things to just keep an eye out on that. And other than that, hope everybody has a great new year. And again, we really, really appreciate everybody.